grab my beer.
Nice one. Yeah, I've got mine as well. Such also, it's great having the big cans as well. Like we don't get a lot of that in the alcohol-free beer. So having the big cans is fantastic.
Well, this is it. We thought that would be like a good, like we were like, we're cornering the market one. No, exactly, because I think we were probably, I don't know if we were the very first, but we were certainly one of the first to put.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, yeah, so
cool.
Yeah, so
you just get pushback from all the people who want to sell it. Bit like, oh no, we only really. Come on.
Well, yeah, so we just got straight into it there. I've joined with Matt, who's the head brewer at Ridgeside, and we're so excited about the beer. We just opened it up and started drinking and talking about it already. So thanks for tuning in again. Second of 5 sessions this afternoon. And this one's with one which is it's close to my heart. It's close to me geographically as well, just up the road in Leeds. It's Ridgeside, and yeah, as I say, we're joined by Matt, who's the brewer there. Hi, Matt. How's it going?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
Lovely. Yeah. So what's your role at Ridgeside? How long have you been working there?
I have been working there since January of 2015, when I was a humble employee. I was brought in to take over in very short notice, being head brewer there.
Okay.
And within the folks who owned it were quite elderly, like their son, who had tragically died. So like they were really looking to sell. So I took it on with them, with my business partner Jorge. Took it on. And so I've been co-owner of it since the middle of 2015.
Oh wow, amazing! So you're co-owner as well. That's incredible. So really seeing the whole process. How many people are in your team then at Ridgeside?
In my team, we're a tiny, really tiny outfit. So there's literally only 4 of us. There's me, co-owner and brewer. There's our delivery driver Tom, and Steve Clements on sales and logistics, and then we're actually I have an assistant brewer, production brewer, Steve Lovatt, my brother, who's actually just leaving us. So we have an advert at the minute for someone to come work with us.
Oh wow!
So I'm just going to give that a little shout out on the channel.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I know. So 2015, and I guess in that time things have come on quite a bit for you guys. Like, so how did it sort of start? What did you start brewing? Where did it all sort of begin for you guys?
Okay, so there were different chapters of Ridgeside's history. Obviously, originally it was a 100% can, I mean, like a tiny amount of bottle, but almost 100% focused cask brewery. In that kind of wave of independent breweries that came in, sort of slightly changing the script a little bit, I suppose. There was like a wave that it was founded in 2010. So come in brewing cask beers, but using varieties of hops like, New Zealand particularly, and American hops to kind of create pale ales that were, a bit more aromatic, a bit more hop forward by the standards of those times, I would say. That's what they were doing originally, and I think by the time I came in, that was already quite an established thing, and pretty much everyone was doing that by that point. And since then, we've diversified into, and it was mainly focused on, I should add, it was mainly focused on pale ales, a few stouts, but mainly pale ales, different combinations of hops. And in the time that we've had it, we've done obviously a lot more and varied things and a lot more different kinds of packaging formats. So we moved into keg and did bottling for a little bit, but then got a canning line, and just trying to run the gamut, really, trying to just sort of have a go at doing anything that interests us or we think people might like to drink.
Yeah, so do you want to tell us a little bit about the beer that we're drinking, and then we can kind of have a look back at the previous beers that you've done and your sort of history, because I know that you've been doing it for a while, the alcohol-free beer. So what are we drinking today then?
We are drinking Light and Sound today, which is our newest, give or take. I mean, Nothing But the Rain, our other core sort of alcohol-free beer. I tend to say low alcohol. There is
Yeah.
a little bit of alcohol. I always find that a little bit touch and go. But there's a teeny bit in there, so let's acknowledge that. Which is kind of important to our philosophy and how we approach it. So Light and Sound to start off with, just a desire to do something a little different from Nothing But the Rain, which is sometimes we have a bit of crystal malt in there. There's it's a little bit more of an ale sort of, it's trying to give a little bit more of that. This was just an attempt to get like a really good, clean, bright, hop character into an alcohol-free beer, and hopefully we've achieved that. So let's just I'll get in on this as well.
What hops are in this then?
Well, the dry hop, which is most of the aroma that you're getting off it, is El Dorado and Equinox.
Cheers.
Cheers. And you can definitely get the El Dorado on the nose. I think that's nice about this. But in 2 batches, I think it's slightly better El Dorado in this batch because the kind of stone fruit, like a touch of earthiness, but like not overwhelming it. Like the stone fruit element there, as opposed to the straight up kind of tropical fruit that you get from
Equinox. Yeah. Lovely. He mentioned Nothing But the Rain as well, and that's actually was so I decided I was going to kind of cut back on my drinking a little bit early 2019, and I saw I think it was the first Nothing But the Rain then in my regular bottle shop. I think they had maybe 2 Big Drop bottles, and then they had your Nothing But the Rain can. And I could not believe that there was in this craft beer shop that there was a 440 can with the cool branding and all the everything. And I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't get my head around it. So for me, I mean, you guys are very special to me because that was kind of my gateway to all of this. I don't think I would have even persisted with alcohol-free beer if it wasn't for seeing that. And I mean, you were one of the first ones. So do you want to tell us a little bit about Nothing But the Rain, the series that you've got there, kind of what goes into it and how it evolves over time?
Yeah. So number one, I'll just say I'm glad that it got through to someone. I don't get out a lot. Like, working on stuff, obviously in the last year, no one gets out a lot. I get that. I'm not saying but like it's nice that like stuff we were trying to do has kind of connected with someone. So that's good. It's good to hear that that worked. In terms of why we did Nothing But the Rain, it sort of falls into the category of because I quite like the idea of doing it. I'm not a massive drinker of alcohol-free beers in the first place. I'm eternally curious. It's fair to say I'm also eternally curious, but I'm eternally curious about beer and different kinds of beer and like how you might, not necessarily extreme beers, but just like the technical process of like, oh, how do you make this happen, or how do you do this, or how do you fake that, or what have you. So for me, the question of, with our relatively low tech setup, completely low tech setup, we don't have labs, we don't have great overarching, kind of R&D approach, approach. We don't have like that. There isn't like a meeting with our international marketing board. Work out, we could sort of go, oh, I mean, and it seemed like an interesting idea because obviously we were already brewing, in terms of internationally, in the UK we already brew like low gravity beers.
Yes,
like,
sure, yeah.
Minimal fermentables that are trying to deliver quite a lot of flavor and be quite drinkable. So it was really just a contention on that front. It was like, oh, can we do that? Is that something that we could try and pull off? And there was I was looking a little at yeast and looking at different kinds of yeast and ones that were like maybe didn't metabolize all kinds of sugars, and thinking, oh, maybe we could have a bash at this. I don't know, like for me, I don't know how much is being covered in the other sessions, but obviously, like philosophically, there's kind of a few different ways you can approach trying to make an alcohol-free beer. I won't go on about it too much, but it's like obviously you can you can make a beer and then take the alcohol out of it. Like
Yeah.
the most technically demanding, most expensive in terms of equipment. It gives some great results, but you know, it is just prohibitive and way beyond anything that we could do in terms of. So that's an approach. The other approach is probably to start making a beer and then stop. Stop. It goes too far. Cut it off. Heat. Pasteurize it with heat or sterile filtration. Kind of fine filtration. And package that, which is I think probably the most widely used overall approach. Like speaking politically, probably the most common. And that has its advantages, and there are beers that are good that are like that. But I mean, also what you get is like the characteristic of a beer that's quite, it tastes quite unfermented.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have a whole flavor characteristic, like it's been through.
Yes. Yeah.
An entire fermentation and like finished up, and you quite often get kind of off flavors in there as well, maybe sulfurous off flavors. They don't always smell so great, I find, which is a thing that we're quite focused on. So then there's this approach that we have, and which other people hit on. I think Big Drop do something very similar. So I'm not claiming that it's. I mean, like there's nothing new in beer. There's nothing new in beer. Things always being rediscovered or found. So like, but our approach is, I think, similar to theirs, which is to use a yeast that does a huge amount of sugars, and then select for sugars in the process, mash very hot, like select for sugars, like long chain sugars that aren't very accessible to the yeast, and then just try and have what you think of as like a micro ferment, like try and do the complete process of making a beer, but just with a really, really tiny amount of fermentation.
Okay. That's really interesting. I think, and we've spoken to a couple of people who they did a similar thing, and it seems to get the best results. And if this is anything to go by. So did you also, as well as you've got this new one out, there's also a sour one as well, wasn't there, that you released recently? So you're covering all the bases.
We really are trying to. So like that's a bit of a white whale for me. Like I think that's a fine beer. It's a decent beer. I feel we could do more with that. It's really difficult though. What I was saying a minute ago there about sugars is that obviously a lot of the flavoring fruit does actually come from like a combination of like the parts, the oils and different components in the fruit, but also the sugar in combination with it. What we have with this product is a live, with Light and Sound or with the Rain or Sound. What was it called? Current Wisdom. That was it. Too many beers. Too many beers made, not too many beers drunk. And sober as a lord. So anyway, the thing with it is, again, it presents this technical problem, which is that you want to get a really big fruit character in there, but it's still a live product. We don't want exploding cans.
Exactly, yeah.
Lots of simple sugars in there. I don't know, guys like Mikella, with their ones that they've been doing. I think that's a kind of, it's a pasteurization thing that they're killing off all yeast.
Yeah.
I suspect, I don't know for sure, but I suspect that like they kind of make a low end beer, like a low strength beer, and then they just don't, they pasteurize it, and then they kind of get this lovely beery fruit cocktail, which is great. But that's not really how we've done it. It's not really how I approach fruit beers in general. Like for the fruit beers that we make that are with alcohol and the sours, I tend to treat the fruit as kind of fermentable.
Okay.
And integrate more into the fermentation just to integrate it more. Because I don't know. I think this is slightly my hobby horse. Is like I like beers to essentially be beery. Like I think it's great, the kind of fruit smoothie kind of thing phenomena that goes on, great, and those beers are nice, but it's just not really what we do.
I'm on your side there. I think especially when it comes to alcohol free, it's like it's already not got the alcohol. So then if you start kind of masking the taste of beer, what is it then? It's like it's just a soft drink.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you think the same way, because it's I think it's fine, everything for everyone. And do whatever. But it's nice for me when I drink something like that. I want to feel like it is beer as well. I want to taste that. mean, obviously in a fruit beer, I don't want tons of like bitter hops or anything like that. But I do want it there. And that fermented character, I think it's interesting with ours, just to go back to the technical process on ours, like one of the things that we found over the process of several iterations of Nothing But the Rain, is that for us, like a longer dry hop make quite a big difference. Clearly there's interactions going on, this biotransformation and what have you, the interactions between the yeast and the dry hops and various compounds in the dry hops. It's doing something, and you go from something which on the kind of the second day of dry hop is like very raw and very green, and still sort of tastes a bit like beery, hop water, into something that mellows out and becomes a much more integrated, kind of beery drink.
Yeah. So what's kind of what's coming up next? I mean, is the Nothing But the Rain series going to continue? Have you got plans? When the pubs open, could you see? I know, like you say about the whole process, and you got to tackle that, I guess, to get sort of your beer into kegs as well. But do you see that as a future? Maybe trying to get this out to pubs and bars in kegs, or?
Look, we'd love to. As ever with these things, like there was a massive gap between the first Nothing But the Rain that we did and the second one, and that's not because like it's lovely that it connected with you, and you were there going like, oh yeah, this is great, this is wonderful. But it's just so difficult. Like we're a really small outfit, so it's really tricky to get stuff out there, and like we can't shift the market; we have to follow the market. We find. So although there are a few bars and a few places where we sent kegs and that's worked, I think overall and in general, we're still just a long way off bars, the kind of culture shift that sees putting that on being a very more than a niche thing. I mean, maybe the way to look at it is that alcohol free or low alcohol beer on tap in that way is where craft keg was, in like 2012, 2012, where it's like niche.
I think you're right, yeah.
Niche outfits that are going to be able to handle it and know what they're doing with it and to think about it.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. So yeah, we're totally open to that though. I think for us, a lot of it is like, it's great to do stuff like this. It's great to engage, get out to the people, connect to the people who do actually care, who are interested. And like, it's a great driver for doing more stuff. Like I'm excited to do more things in this field and seeing how far we can push it.
And do you see your sort of your current customers that in the past, or they buy your full strength beer, are they also picking up when they're ordering? I know you've got your online shop. Are they picking up a couple of your alcohol-free stuff as well, or is it people specifically kind of going for the low alcohol? How does that work?
I think it's interesting. I think since we've had an online, like we didn't previously have any kind of direct connection with our consumers. We're really small. Sure. We're always super good at making a packaging beer, like busy around doing stuff, and then like putting it out in the world. Hope it lands. Hope it does well. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. But since we've had that, like if there's one positive, and I'm really wary of saying this because it's crass about the pandemic, is that like running the web shop, it has allowed us to connect a bit more with like people who like our stuff to come back and come back and have this sort of connection, which is great. I mean, that's lovely seeing like repeat custom coming back on the shop and people trying different things and like watching where their taste goes and what have you. That's lovely. So yeah, I think it's interesting. It was interesting to me is that like people are definitely laying it in alongside. There's that mindful drinking thing, that like it's a tempering thing. It's not purely either or. It's definitely a shading in and out.
Absolutely, I think and I think 100%. I think I mean, I do the monthly subscription boxes of the AF beer, and I think it is probably half the people that subscribe don't drink. They're decided that not to drink, and then the other half are just like you say, people who are drinking mindfully or moderating, whatever you want to call it, but they're chucking in some of these beers alongside their regular beers. And I think again, for you guys, it's amazing to see like a brewery like yourself who are offering those options alongside the higher percentage stuff. So just it kind of normalizes it, I think, and that's great. And for it's just better for everyone. It's better for the people that don't drink at all because they've got an option from a really good brewer, and then it's great for the people that want to moderate because it gives them more stuff. So yeah, and so with the web shop you've got going, where will that kind of you know, in the next few weeks, things are going to start opening. Will you'll carry on with the web shop? Have you got any plans to sort of open up as a tap room or anything like that?
We kind of have to move site. We have done that before, but it's not really very practical with the site that we're on.
Okay.
To get people down, a lot of packing up, packing down, which kind of interferes with what we're doing. So I mean, like we loved doing that. It was really nice. And again, that was the previous kind of point where we had like good kind of direct connection with customers. So hopefully, I mean, we may be moving sites. So fingers crossed, we can do something on that. We will be keeping the web shop going. Yeah, and for me, because you start off probably you don't see it this way round, or maybe you do with the connection to the wholesalers. Is that like you come up with something and you want to push it, and it's like it takes a while to like get it moving.
Yeah.
Kind of have to like gradually push, and that pushing requires like working capital, cold room space, all that kind of stuff. So there's always a bit of pressure on it, and I'm really happy with this because it was a little bit of a pet project, but we've pushed it forwards and it's actually going now, and it's continuing.
Awesome.
So it's something, and like you guys have helped with that, helped drive that. So like we're grateful to you for sure. But yeah, exactly. We know now that we're in a situation where we can really then we'll really just sort of step it up and continue and try and explore some more variety as well. Who knows, other possible styles that we can throw in.
Amazing. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about. Really appreciate it. And yeah, best of luck with the future. I know, like I know that you guys within the kind of alcohol-free beer world, like you guys are so highly respected, and people just love it because of constantly bringing out new versions and that kind of attention to detail. I speak for a lot of people by really saying thank you for the last couple of years, keeping people sort of sane and with great beer. So thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome. We'll just try and keep on doing what we're doing.
Nice one. And yeah, like I say, you're quite close to me, so I have to come up and pay you a visit when we're allowed to again, and drink from the stores.
Absolutely, anytime.
Cheers, Matt. Thanks a lot. Have a good rest of the weekend.